All right. Peace, 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 everybody. Welcome to a new show, Improve. I'm Clarke, and we back. a little late, but it's all right. We here. We in here, you know, and we are continuing on our journey, the adventure of, cold science. And it's part 6. Like I say, it's going to be a long one because there's many areas of activity that we got to get through. But right now, we are in the second part of education. All right, the second part of education, and man, it's like dealing with education. So much you could talk about. There's so much that's so much you could tap into. Like I say, man, there's a lot in the United Independent Compensatory Code by Neely Jr. That look, I can't cover, um, but there's still so much that we can grab. We just still, scratch the surface a little bit, but we dig it. We still digging, you know what I'm talking about, but peace and masculine led, you know what I'm talking about. So we just gonna get into it, man, you know what I'm talking about. So education part 2. Okay.
African-centered worldview. And our first question to you, Dr. Clarke, is according to your great research, and it is indeed has been prodigious, how did the African see his place in nature, and how did he see God, and how did he express his concepts of God in his everyday life?
The African saw himself in relationship to nature as he saw nature and God as one and the same. And we must remember that for most of the existence of man, the word God was not used. And yet, man had a great spirituality and a great affinity for the concept that man would later call God. Africa recognized that there was a spiritual force in the universe. He knew he could not make the rain, change the seasons, he could not make a hurricane, and he could not stop one. So he recognized that this force in the world was in charge, was a force bigger than himself, and he tried to bring man in harmony with nature, as against Western man, who often tries to defy nature. But he did not use the word God, and yet he recognized the spiritual force in the world that man would later call God.
Dr. Clarke, I've often heard throughout the years that this word God is used in the English language. Is actually the word dog spelled backwards.
Yes, and man was late in using it, and whether this is coincidental, I do not know, but it is somewhat ironical that is the case, because the God concept that we know came out of the conference in Nicaea in Europe, 325 A.D. But the spiritual concept was always there, recognized by the African, who thought that the spiritual force that ruled the universe was in everything that lives. Therefore, the African would meditate sometime before cutting down a tree, because a tree was a part of life. It only cut down what he needed, and he thought that the spiritual force of the universe was in the water, so he could stand by the water and meditate or pray, or in a tree, and he could stand by the tree, or in himself, so he could meditate within himself. And so he did not need a church as such, and he did not need someone to intervene between himself and the spiritual force of the universe, because he thought that he was a part of that totality and he could communicate directly.
Now, Dr. Clarke, what is the difference between religion and spirituality?
Religion is an artificial form that came later when man organized spirituality into forms and denominations, into concepts. And each group tried to prove that their concept was the true concept and the one most entitled to prevail. Now you see hypocrisy entering spirituality and killing its meaning. Now, spirituality is the recognition of the spiritual force of the universe and the recognition of your relationship toward all living things and your responsibility toward all living things. I have examined a lot of African indigenous belief systems, and most of them are based on African spirituality as against religions. And as much see, spirituality, you do not discriminate. Your wife can belong to one version of it, you can belong to another, and there's no conflict between you based on that. And this was carried over into the United States because within my own family, I got nearly everything except the Catholic. I might have them now when I didn't have them in my growing up days, but we had Methodists and Holy Rollers and Sanctified people, although we were predominantly Baptists. We were predominantly Baptists, and even our best religious jokes were about the Methodists because they got sprinkled instead of being immersed in the water. See, with the coming of religion and denominations and churches and ministers, economics entered. Commerce entered. To have a church, you got to have someone to build the church. The church has to be maintained. To have a preacher, he has to be maintained. So once commerce entered, the Bible, the religion became a money-making entity with all of its pretense of holiness. And it could not sustain itself without funds. So it became a fundraising gimmick. And I say that going away from spirituality, which is the recognition of all living things in their worth, when in religion you give preference to your chosen denomination and people who adhere to your chosen denomination. Religion has a sense of prejudice throughout. In fact, nearly all religions are violations of the God concept by dictionary definition. Because if you take the dictionary definition of God, God is kind, God is gracious, and God is nonpartisan, which is just the opposite of religions. A Catholic will not concede that a Protestant is right or can be right. That's ungodly.
It certainly is.
So when you deal with the ungodly nature of religion, the Protestant nature of religions, the partisan nature of religion, you can find out that religions violate, sometimes by their very being, the concept of God.
and truly one's system of belief or their spiritual identification.
All right. So, peace, Icudarian, and peace, I know life, and peace, sovereignties. Um, that was Dr. John Henrik Clarke, and I just put that in there just because, hey, he always educating the meditate. You know what I'm talking about? But he was really dropping a lot on religion, I mean, and things like that. When no one gets into philosophically or historically what religion is and how it came about and why it came about and its meanings and what was going on at the time. Like she likes to point out what was going on at the time and what was the political economical meaning behind such statements. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man. you know. Now, as a new, we are not against Western education. We are pro education in all forms. Training and education are not the same. To be trained to be anything other than a righteous being is damaging, but education brings out the genius in a soul. We must ensure that our education leads us to careers where entrepreneurship is the only destination. We should target disciplines that are high earning and produce upper level professionals. And that comes from the new way and education, So message, what I'm talking about. But yeah, you know, um, there's nothing wrong with it. But it should be a springboard to get you where you need to be, whereas being a high produce upper level professionals and to be an entrepreneur. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah. Um, Now, ask white people who say that they want to do justice, to speak and act, to stop making the language of health, medicine, chemistry, science, and law more complicated and confusing than is necessary. That makes a lot of sense because let me tell you, a lot of disciplines are made complicated than they really are. Biology, you can understand a lot, but because there's so much jargon and words and things like that, you get confused and mixed up. The other place, especially when you're dealing with uh state buildings and doctors and lawyers, because there's just they make things complicated in the way they are with all unnecessary words that when you speak plainly and not confusing, you can understand what's being said and what things need meaning to, but because people make it complicated than it is, you just gotta like, what is you talking about? What is you talking about? So yeah, ask those that say they want to do justice, speak plainly and not complicate and confuse than you necessarily do. If you really want, if that's really what you want to do. Why you got to make it, especially when it comes to health and medicine and chemistry, so complex, and it's not that complex, then it need be. And here you are just giving filler and jargon, So yeah, I totally, be feeling that, you know what I'm talking about. But peace out, guys. There. One of the major characteristics of racist man and racist woman, white supremacists collectively, is to give non-white people information in a manner that is complicated, confusing, incomplete, and or harmful. The manner in which they use words is one of the basic ways that they use to do this. Um, Peace out the Hava. One common um, example, I'll say it like that, or a common historical example is what? The teaching of the Helios Biblios, or the Bible, or just uh Yahshua, Hamashiach, just the what you would call Christianity. I mean, that you just deal with that in itself. How it was given to you. It was given to you what? Complicated, confusing, incomplete. and what? Harmful. You're you're a Hamite. Therefore, we have justification on making you a slave. But I'm the original Hebrew. I'm a Semite. No, you're not. It's them Khazars over there. That ain't you. And more importantly is, don't worry about the Levitical laws or anything like that. That don't apply to you. Just remember, everything lies in the New Testament, and the Lord know your heart. And blood Jesus. Blood Jesus. You be all right. That I would say written contracts, law or statutes, law statutes. I mean, there are just so many examples, that you can use and say, when it comes to us, it's complicated, confusing, incomplete, or harmful, and then it changes. It changes when they want it to change. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, hashtag gimmick, or the use of words that they know or assume the common man would not understand. It provides a divide separation. Yeah, it really do. You know what I'm talking about? But it's all to confuse and be deceitful and all those things. Sovereignty. So yeah, for sure. Now it said study fiction, stories from a person's imagination for the best purpose of getting ideas about what to do or say and what not to do or say in order to produce justice, balance between people, and correctness, people, creatures, and things. Man. But before I get into it, let's continue on. Still same sentence. Yeah, the English language sovereignty is acceptable, because you gotta understand something. Whereas you have other languages where words mean more than one thing, it's like it's cut and dry. But then so many dang on meanings for this word when it's supposed to mean more than one thing. It's crazy. You know what I'm talking about? It really is. So, let me. Okay, among the people of the known universe, the rights of the white people who have chosen to practice white supremacy have proven to be the greatest producers of fiction stories, records of events that did not happen. The white supremacists produce and use fiction stories in order to get in the practice of thinking about making things happen that have not happened. The white supremacists have become the masters of making things happen by first imagining that they could happen, and or by imagining that they should happen. So can you explain that a little bit more, please? How does use of fiction facilitate this? That's why I came to sense, so I can explain it. Achoti. So don't worry about it. I'm about to get into it. So what is being said is, you know, when you study fiction, you because this is through somebody's cultural imagination of how they want things to be. I know one that was always used, Star Trek and Star Wars. By studying this fiction or paying attention to this fiction, you get to see what was the main common thing. Wasn't no black people around. You ever see space stories, especially when it comes to space? Ever see space stories? Ain't that many black people. And who's solving all the spatial problems? White people. But that's fiction. Or comic book movies. Fiction. Based off fictional short books with comic strips. We just say like that. Small magazine like books with comic strips in them, right? But what does it have? You know, people that don't look like you, mainly don't look like you, but they have these special powers. Some of them can do animal like things, like shoot dang on web out their arms. Some have powers where they can read minds. Some have powers that they can bend metal. Some, or study fiction, some have powers that they can produce magic, and they go to these dang on magic schools, and and they get sorted to a house. But what? It's all surface based in the sense. They just want the magic. They don't want to be right people. Which causes the conundrum in some of these things. You know what I'm talking about? Seeing people study their mythology. Yeah, study their mythology. But which I was getting into because she talked about it. You study their mythology. Even Dr. John Henry Clarke said, study their mythology, study history. Like she talked about, not this podcast, but the one before this one, about Zeus. He ain't lying. Zeus but this thing, it's not just Zeus that was doing all those things. A lot of them dang on guys was doing some messed up things. And it's like a whole reality TV show. Real gods of Mount Olympus, we just call it like that, right? I mean, Poseidon was doing the same thing to women and things like that. Because I know for sure, there was this one time. Well, he did. I know he did that for Europa. I know he turned into a swan for one chick, and she was always talking about Ganymede. So I don't need to go there. There is bestiality in a lot of the mythology because Poseidon gets into that. I'm just gonna say it like that because that's how he produced horses, or Pegasus, and many mutant type animals, with golden fleeces that look like rams. And giants and cyclops and things like that. But if you peep that, you look at that mythology, then and see how messed up it is, then you can sort of understand. Like in my mind, I think of the movie Percy Jackson and all them dang on Percy Jackson movies based off Greek mythology. All these dang on kids are demigods. We ain't gonna talk about how they got there, but they're demigods and they're in this dang on school. You see how crazy and chaotic it is? Like, I'm a child of Poseidon. I'm a child of Athena. I'm a child of. I ain't gonna talk about how I got here. Now they don't talk about how they got here, but you can figure it out if you know the personality of historical personality of these mythologies. You'd be like, yeah, Aphrodite. Well, we know she a thought. Aphrodite's a thought. I just say it like that. She thought it up. So, but also, I wanted to take it as like me and Master Miller do. We like anime. You know what I'm talking about? We like anime and we like manga and things like that, right? And if you pay attention with all the anime and manga we have seen, one thing we pay attention to is, at least, like Chief was talking about, is that most of the anime made today is in high school. But also what it's in high school, and these high schools with those situations and bullying and all that, which is an issue. But you also pay attention to that there is a mistreatment of children in that culture. Period. Point blank. There's mistreatment of children. And I'm making that up. Another thing you pay attention to is that they allow misunderstandings to just happen. As Chief just said in the last podcast, how misunderstandings they blatantly allow misunderstandings to happen, but not saying anything, and where things could be rectified and not rectified because nobody won't say nothing. So they allow hate to happen, just blatantly by not saying anything. You know what I'm talking about? You definitely see that with a lot of dang Chinese dramas. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. So especially when it comes to romance, they allow a lot of misunderstandings to happen, especially when it comes to romance or the pairing of male and females. And you're just like, so y'all have a chaotic relationship based on misunderstandings and hate, and yet y'all. And y'all still trying to make it work. It's boggling my mind, things like that, right? But it's based off of a study of a person or a culture's fiction. You know what I'm talking about? But like she said, man, that Greek mythology is a doozy. Not only that, he ain't lying about Greeks being mercenaries, but it's just not. It just not when the Cretans, if you go down history, even the Italians got into being mercenaries, and there's a famous mercenary group. They called it the Black Army, during medieval during the medieval period, in Europe, they got busy, so that whole funding of mercenary or having mercenary companies has always been prevalent. You know what I'm talking about? Catch the replay. Don't worry about it, G. We still go. We ain't even that far in. You know what I'm talking about? But if you study a person's a people's cultural mythology, you find out a lot about them. You find out a lot about them. So yeah, but this is the thing. You still have the same culture bringing these mythologies back, i.e. in comic books and things like that. Like when it comes to Greek mythology, one well, it's a comic book. They call it a webtoon. One that that takes verbatim pretty much, but has a modern take on it, about Greek mythology. Is called Lore Olympus, right? And it's about the story of Hades and Persephone and how they got together, but with a modern take, right? A modern woke take. You know what I'm talking about? But it's popular today. You know what I'm talking about? It's popular. Peace, G. They do, and they present a one-sided perspective. They never present that mistreatment of children or the gender distortion as part of the culture. Exactly, sovereignties. They never do, but it's there. You know what I'm talking about? It's there. I would say the excessive bullying. The excessive bullying. You think is like if you think is probably a new age thing in age ago, but it's not. Come to find out, that was a big thing in Japanese culture, especially during World War II in the Japanese military. They used to get bullied. They used to get bullied by their subordinates a lot. And it'd be crazy. But then what? You see these atrocities happen in prison camps, because and things like that. Or also when you pay attention to people's mythology, like I'm still going with the anime. The Jezebel is rampant, but the Jezebel spirit is rampant in the in their cultural mythology of anime and whatnot. They just have different types. Look, they break it down to different levels. We call them deadass. There's masculine. No, the main one is the tsundere. The chick that acts like she don't like you, but she do like you. But then she acts mean to you, but she really like you secretly. Try to play that one off. But then you got your cool dead ass, your yandere. That's the psycho chick. I'm gonna say that right now. You ever hear of yandere? Those are the psycho chicks. That's But it's rampant, and then you have your Ahabs who they take all this abuse from like a tsundere and never say nothing. They take all the abuse and they never say nothing. Go along to get along, but they still be alike. It's crazy, but you see it. What I'm saying? But you can still say that's what mythology. Because years down the line, that's what they're gonna say. That's their mythology. But let's say so the Greeks are all gods and the Africans are dirty slaves. Exactly. But it is just but then you get to see what culturally what Western people chose. You got to remember Greek mythology and Greek philosophy and Roman mythology and Roman philosophy was standard education for European people. They never tell you, but because I started off in Greek mythology and whatnot. You hear about these myths, but they don't seem as bad, at least as a kid, because they don't seem as bad than they supposed to. Like, whoa, like what that what happened to Cassiopeia and all them? Huh? What happened to Arachne? Mind you, Arachne was from Libya. Medusa. You know what? Well, I will tell you what Poseidon did with Medusa's head, but I don't think you want to know. I ain't gonna know. But I will say that what he did with Medusa's head got you Pegasus and another mutant animal. I will say that. So this is why it's important to study studies a person's a people's fiction, because you get to understand their mindset. Like studying I'll leave it at that. Look, let's just leave it. Let's just get it with the Greeks and Romans. So yeah, man. Now, the white supremacists, more than any other people in a known universe, have become masters of making fiction become fact. Much of the fact that the white supremacists produce from fiction is deliberately designed to produce excitement, joy, skill, thrills from the killing, the general mistreatment of people. And you see that. You know what I'm talking about? Especially when it comes to your comic book movies. I know they, there's always this trope of this saying that Batman doesn't kill, but in certain comic books, Batman puts in their work. Actually, when Batman was created and got a running, he was running fades and giving dudes their work. But then when they found out it's not economical for Batman to kill people, that's when he stopped killing people and started, had to belong to the police. But he was putting in that work, cuz. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah. But you see what? Even though they have these so-called beings with great power, there's still mistreatment. Mistreatment of people and the killing of people. There's all look. Two superheroes fighting, you got your hero, you got your villain, and what buildings are being destroyed. You don't know who's in those buildings, but there's somebody in those buildings. You know what I'm talking about? They throw a car, you don't know who's in that car, but somebody has just got murked. But that's never being brought up, in movies and things like that. None of that's being brought up, but there is collateral damage and the killing of innocents, you know what I'm talking about? But all of that it's not being thought of because why? You see the joy and the skill and the thrills and the action and whatnot, and you forget all about that. You forget all about that, But they become masters at it because, especially when it comes to making more technical ways of having certain fiction being brought to scene, especially when it comes to computers, and CG and whatnot. At one point in time, you had to have fake blood, to show that you was killing somebody. Now you can just CG that stuff in. You know what I'm talking about? Batman puts people into some messed up spots. Body cast, further psychological trauma, leaving them dangling off of buildings, questionable guardianship, and job security, etc. Some people, I'm like, dang, you should just shoot. Yeah, but he does that. And not only that, even in comic books, because I'm still talking about fiction now, even in comic books, they have some of the worst relationships. They have some of the worst relationships. You think Superman and Wonder Woman can work? Batman and Catwoman can't even work. But they have some of the most chaotic, dysfunctional relationships in comic books and fiction, just like what? Your Greek mythology. Like I told you, she was talking about Zeus, and I said, Poseidon was doing the same thing. Poseidon did the same thing even to his own wife. You know what I'm talking about? Just like Zeus was doing there. It's crazy. You know what I'm talking about? And I would also say, at least for the Minoans, it was Poseidon that was the at one point the god of the underworld. You know what I'm saying? But they switched all that up. But like she was talking about Crete, you have to get into the Minoans and things like that. The Minotaur, how the Minotaur was created, more bestiality, which Poseidon's in. Mo. But yet what? You have people that call themselves what? Black Greeks. It's it's crazy. But yeah, just for the sake of drama, Master Man, like, yeah. But it goes to show, even when I can have a harmonious relationship, I'd rather do hood rat stuff with my friends. Real guys are Mount Olympus. I'm telling you, yo, real guys are Mount Olympus. That'd be a look, but it'll be too real, and then it'll get canceled because what? They don't want to see that. They are well, maybe they do. You know, see how real. Well, we just say real. The perversions, see all the perversions and whatnot amongst the guys. You be like, this be good. You know what? For Western television, it'd be good television. It'd be just as big as Game of Thrones, probably. Make it like a reality TV show. Bam. You know. But you know, but this is that. They gonna put black people in it. You gonna have some, I don't know who, well, because they like to do us dirty. They'll probably put the black guy as Hephaestus. Yeah, they'll probably put a black man as Hephaestus. You know. Yeah. They might make Aphrodite. Yeah, they could do that. Cause she ain't about to be. She ain't. Nope. Can't have that. But yeah, fiction, right? Must see TV. It's like it's like when House of the Dragon came out and everybody was in the tip about the Valerians being black, and here I am like fictionally, you're not gonna get what you want. You don't even want them to, because in that, what did you have? Basically a house that even though it doesn't happen in the actual books, the house, what? Basically, the lines being cut off, the bloodlines being cut off, because the king don't want to say that his the heir to the throne is a thought. You could just say it like that. And having out of wedlock kids, and then trying to play them off like they us, and the only one they got something to say about it is the brother, and he, the brother, and he gets killed by some, So yeah, man, it's must see TV because it has what, tragedy and drama. Like that's one thing you see in Greek mythology, a lot of tragedy and drama. If you read it, what's that dang on that tragedy? It's about Jason. It's about Jason. And it should be Jason and Andromeda, because that should be her name. And Jason finds a new chick. And what does that chick do? I think she kills the kids. It's tragedy though. Tragedy. That's what you get that from. It's crazy, but hey, it'll make for good television. Brave New World, Phillies. Phillies. So yeah, man. But that's why you sort of study fiction, just to see what a culture is thinking and imagining where they will be, where they see themselves. How Chief said, how those Marvel movies and things like that, those comic book movies was basically just the awakening or reawakening of trying to strengthen. I can't paraphrase what he was saying. I'm not gonna try. But I know we was talking about. But propaganda. I just say it like that. It was propaganda. But yeah. So producing fiction stories about a variety of ways to mistreat non-white people for fun, glory, and for material profit is a major form of educational entertainment for racist men and racist women. White supremacists collectively. For the love of God, yeah. ML on that. Yeah, see, look, man. Ooh, well, we could, but yeah, because that's one thing you see in fiction stories. You are going to see the um the mistreatment of non-white entities. We'll just say that in fiction. Some will point to Lord of the Rings and those and those of that nature, because you can always tell that what orcs, goblins, trolls, whatever, they're always being what mistreated or seen as the the big bad. Say it like that. Uh, Melpomene. Okay, Melpomene. Um, always seen as the big bad, right? You know, um, and things like that. And that's just we're dealing with Western culture, right? And Western fiction and mythology. You know, um, when it comes to Eastern mythology, or at least Eastern mythology in the modern sense, it's sort of gray in a sense. Sometimes, depending, yes, that the gods or the ethereals or whatever you want to call them, they're always good sometimes. And then the demons and whatnot, they're the bad. But then there's sometimes where it's it's the so-called gods in the heavens or whatever that are the bad, and the demons that are good, but they're portrayed as the bad. Sometimes it can switch places sometimes, but not all times. But sometimes, you know, and be all crazy, but it's also all crazy because you got crazy relationships that are just like Greek mythology. you know. So yeah, dysfunctional as well. So, but yeah, you will see the mistreatment of white people. For fun, for glory. That's why sometimes I can't watch certain movies or TV shows, things like that. Because why? You're going to see what? The mistreatment of non-white people. You just are. You just are. Either you're a slave, you're the alphabet people, you're weak, you're a you're a cuckold, you're promiscuous, say it like that. Um, you're ultimately crazy and psycho and out of your mind and can't solve no. And all you there is to help serve the dominant society and solve their problems. Who wants to be that? you know, just say it. Slave movies. It's just not slave movies. It's everything. It's just not slave movies. It's just not slave movies. Nah, cuz I ain't gonna say it's just slave movies. No, it's alphabet people. It used to be alphabet people. We just say it like that. Alphabet people or dissexuals. We just say it like that. You're either one. You either one of those people. It's not even that. It's just like you watch something and you're like, oh, here we go, here we go. It's like, okay, example, right? We just go Game of Thrones. Their Sully was cool. Their Sully was some warriors. The Sully was this. The Sully was that. But what was the underlying flaw? The fatal flaw. Snip, snip. And it's like, and who do they look like? You. So we could be the greatest warriors or whatever, but we have to be. And then hot. Well, not hot. Well, House of the Dragon. What was the fatal flaw? Valerians had all this power, but what? They basically had because they couldn't move like men do. They didn't move like men do, or they couldn't in the sort of sense. They had all that power, but what? They still, fiction. But that's fiction, though. Solely to me. Exactly. You see? But that's fiction stories, but that's how they see you. Or how they portray you. You can't have a legacy. You can't have a strong, sane, solid bloodline. And even if they have craziness in their bloodline, they still fall on top. You get what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? So it's like I say, it's a lot, but that's just fiction. But sometimes, but what? When we're all, transition, they gonna call that mythology. It's not really something to me. But I'm just saying, like, you have the powerful people, then they have this one flaw. you know you know what I'm talking about. I consider that the fictional stories such as Black Panther provide dominant people with a hero that has no face and no lineage or family. Does it then perpetuate the idea of melanin dominant man woman that has no lineage and bloodline? Yeah. You can okay, you just said it. Yeah, you can see. Like, you can take Black Panther. Look at it. It was confusing, incomplete. It was confusing. It was incomplete. It didn't make sense. You know what I'm talking about? Here you have people that's so technologically advanced, but what? They mistreated other non-white people. They were this, they were that, but they what? What was the issue? The mistreatment of non-white people. That was supposed to be, that was the big issue. You had all this technology and you didn't help nobody. You just stayed isolated. You didn't tell nobody this, but you stayed isolated from everybody, even the ones that didn't that one part of them offer. You didn't even help them out. That's mistreatment. So, and then what happened? Then the women took over. It's like, yeah, you can't have strong men leading the country. No, you got to be led by your woman. You got to have all these big strong dudes, and they led by a frail woman. It's it's like, huh? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. Y'all, attending the Man's Coalition of Melon Rich Africans ever. I'm saying during my offer. Thank you. Thank you. We invisible to everybody. But yeah, we gonna act like we po and third world. We po and third world to everybody, even amongst our own. We po and third world, and we ain't helping nobody. and then what? Your so-called help is what? A community center. But you gonna make it to an embassy? Do you think it is like, well, shoot, I mean, there's YMCA, Boys and Girls Club. We already have that. Granted, it's, but what makes that any different, So yeah, man, it's but it's fiction. And then you sort out some, and then look at your own fictional stories. None of it has to do with the past, in the sense that it never goes past slavery. Insert the slave movies. 12 Years a Slave, The Butler, And the only movie where you actually is a man, everybody condemn the director. But I will tell you this. Everybody has that movie that as we say gets them every time. In Birth of a Nation, that there's a scene that gets me every time, that makes me feel proud or whatever. It's when homie kills the slave master and gets that little girl out the bed. That part gets me every time. Everybody has a part that's like, man, I just can't help but rewind. You know what I'm talking about? You know. Everybody got an Oscar, but no. You know what I'm talking about. You know. But also what? It was what? That movie sort of what? It dealt with counter war in a sense where there was already a Birth of a Nation, but it was a fictional story. It was a fictional story, you know, based on what? The so-called colored soldiers pillaging and raiding a white town, and then what? You need the triple K's to come in and setting everything straight. But that was a fictional story. But what? It upped the membership. You know, it was believable. It was believable for somebody that didn't look like you, but it was believable for a culture. And they was like, yeah, we got to do that. we got to participate in that because that's what's going to happen, or it could happen. But that was a fictional story of what they imagined. You know, mind you, you didn't do that even when you were in the great blue suit. You know, when we gonna get the blue suit. You know, when we gonna get them uniforms, glory. You know, but you didn't do that. But in a fictional story, you did do that. You know, so yeah, man. You know what I'm talking about. It gives deeper as you dig and scratch, man. You know, and you pay attention to fictional stories. You know, even if it's not fictional stories, you can look at reality TV or whatever you want, and you can still see the dysfunction and the chaotic propaganda that's being fed to you or whatever. You know, you can still pay attention and be like, yo, you know, this is crazy, you know. But there, sometimes these are the reasons why we watch things like 1984 and Brave New World and things like that, you know. So yeah, man. Now, according to compensatory logic, it is correct for any person to learn something of constructive value from all sources. This includes learning from people who, for whatever reason, have shown that they do not like other people. This includes learning from people who regard you with varying degrees of contempt or dislike. This is why you said, hey, if the racist have something to teach him, he's gonna learn it. You know, he gonna get it. You know, case in point. You know, I've learned from those type of people. You know, in a sense, you know what I'm talking about. They taught me something, especially I never thought about archery until I actually got with one of them. Well, what you would consider a hillbilly. you know, and they were into archery and whatnot, and they were, showing me, them hunting, with bows and whatnot. And I was like, oh, that's cool or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Never thought about it till I saw it from them. But yeah, I remember Cheese Breakdown of Interstellar as well, where they only had one money astronaut, and he stayed on the ship and aged out while the white actors got to stay young. It's about exactly same thing happened in dang on Planet of the Apes. Same thing happened sort of in Planet of the Apes. Like the one black astronaut, he ends up dead. It's like Oh, so we don't got no survival skills? That's what you're trying to say? or what was the main trope in horror? Black, there's the black person is always the first one to die. That was the main trope. You know what I'm talking about? you know, like you have no survival skills, therefore you're the first one to die. That's that's what you can also say. It's the imagining. You have no survival skills. Meanwhile, your history shows that you have great survival skills, even when you don't even try. Y'all be looking over you people. You got great survival skills, even when you don't try. I don't try, but we survive pretty good, in a sense, it's always can exactly. You're always cannon fodder or whatever. But yeah, you have no survival skills or whatnot, no survival skills, no warrior skills or whatever. You gotta beat other people in order to show that you are a great warrior or whatever. That's why people was mad when a black guy played Achilles in about the Trojan War. Meanwhile, them Kemites were on the Trojan side. But it is what it is. If you know who, Sesostris or Memnon was, they were there. But it is what it is. They just had you playing for the wrong team. You was with them Trojans, if you want to say that. But it is what it is. Or the villain. You the passy or the villain, man. You're never, the all wise and knowing one or whatever, or you're never the empire builder, that like I say has a solid firm legacy. So man, it is what that's the fiction that's being spread, the propaganda that's being spread, so it is, it is what it is. So now you see what the counter war has to be, what I'm saying, or the counter war when it comes to fiction stories, Now, if you are a slow learner, say that you are. Say I am slow. I am a slow learner. I am also an incomplete learner. I therefore request to be taught in a manner that is correct for slow learners. Well, how does it go? Until the lion tells the story. The hunter will always have the best part of the story. Or you will build an empire, you lose it before you have a chance to build an effective bloodline. Yeah, pretty much. Yep, pretty much. That's always the story, right? That's always, So, now this is important because, you see that he's saying, I'm a slow learner, and I'm an incomplete learner, and therefore, I request to be taught in a manner that is correct for slow learners. I feel like this combats the notion that because you are a slow learner or whatever, you need to be put in what special education, which doesn't help those that are quote unquote slow learner or incomplete learners. See, estoy tortuga, for sure, man. You turtle, you're a slow learner, which is funny because, okay, like I'm slow, right? I can't speak like I took so many years in Spanish, right? Aced them all every time, in school, in college, whatever. But I can't speak Spanish to save my life, in a sense, right? Now, mind you, like when I was in Denver, and there was this dude, right? Latin guy, Marine, and one, he was talking, about Sao Paulo, right? And of course, me, I'm Brazil all day. So, he was talking about it, and then he shows me this picture up, and he's like, "What's that?" And I said, I'm looking at I'm like, "That's the Brazilian national football team, bro." It's like, huh? He was like, "No, that's the Brazilian national football team. They call it, the seleção, the selection, you know." And he was like, Selly, what?" And I'm like, "Seleção." You know. Okay. And then I ain't never met no black guy that couldn't speak Spanish, right? So then he was like, so what does this say? And here I am looking at it, I'm reading it, and I'm able to pronounce everything. I'm like, estoy, and then I'm like, "You don't know what that says? That says," and he's like, "Oh, see, I never grew up around. I grew up in the hood." I'm like, "Yeah, I know a lot of essays that grew up in the hood, bro, but they all knew how to speak Spanish." Here you go. But here I am. I'm able to read it and have pronunciation and everything, but I'm so slow. I can't speak it to save my life. But I can sure enough read that stuff. Read and pronounce. Like, But he was asking me all these dang questions. I'm like, "No, you don't know that?" I'm thinking but yeah, man. But you request, to be taught in, like, I request to be taught in a way, because here I am, especially when it came to things like driving, right, or trucking. I was like, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Tell me what I'm doing wrong, so I can be able to auto-correct myself. And luckily, one of the instructors, he was, from Chicago. He said, "This is what you're doing wrong. You just whip that dang thing, man." Like, "Oh, okay, for sure, Sheriff, for sure." How we talk with each other. So I was like, "Oh, okay, now I get it." Now, when he was teaching, it was a lot more easier than somebody that didn't look like me, and they just saying, "Oh, well, you just, but they wouldn't tell me what I was doing wrong." And here I am, like, this guy was telling me what I was doing wrong. He was walking me through the whole way, and now I'm able to auto-correct myself. You know what I'm saying? A slow learner in what area? Some are slow in English. Some are slow with language acquisition, but are quick with math, visual perception, or cheating models. We have to consider what a person's natural strength is. Yeah, I agree. My go-to strategy is to suck and be adamant about making the same mistake twice. Right. Let's see. Some are slow learners only because the teacher and environment is inadequate. Marva. Yeah, but it's supposed to be inadequate. It's prison. It's prison. School is prison. It's gym pop. It's gym pop for youngsters. You know what I'm talking about? So of course it ain't gonna be right. How you expect the COs to teach you? Just say it. How you expect the COs to teach you? When they don't know. It's general population. Don't expect the COs to teach you anything. But yeah, Gym pop, wow, so accurate. I'm telling you, it's. But I wouldn't say that if Neely Fuller didn't say that, or Chief didn't say that. Even Chief said it was prison, and it is, It's general pop and youngsters, man. That's the real. That's the first juvie, before you actually get put in juvie. That's the juvie. The juvie for everybody else. You know what I'm talking about? And then if you really, really bad, you get put up for a crime, then you go to juvie. It's like, But yeah, man. Some ain't playing, these people just ain't as effective. Ask me mythology lesson. No, they're not. But they weren't supposed to be anyway, because the structure and the system wasn't meant to be, But yeah. So, a slow learner is a person who learns all or most things in a very slow, methodical, and repetitive manner. When you are accused of being dumb or ignorant, say, if you have the will and the ability to teach me what I should know, I am willing to learn. Now, I feel like this is a very solid and strong passage and statement, because you have people that say, you so dumb, you ignorant, or those ignorant people, or they just need more training, or things like that. Okay, well, if you have the ability to teach me what I should know, I'm willing to learn. That shows humility, but that also puts the earnest on that person that says, that calls you these things or accuse you of being these things. Okay, well, if you know so much, then you teach me. I'm willing to learn. Let's go. Let's see what you know. You know. Raise his hand. What? You know. Um, so raise his hand. So it's like, but I like the humility of it. You know what I'm talking about? I like the humility that I am willing to learn if you have the will and ability to teach you. Because some people don't have the will nor the ability. Some people have, they have one without the other sometimes as well, but some don't have the will, nor do they have the ability. Because you have to have patience in order to really teach somebody, especially when they learn, when they are a slow learner, and they learn in a methodical, repetitive manner, As we see in the Marva Collins story, which we're going to get into, but I didn't want to jump the gun, True. This brings context to the previous excerpt. Thank you. This is always detailed. So detailed. Yeah, well, see, sometimes sometimes you be jumping the gun like it's in the slide. I don't want to give the slide away, but sometimes you got to, because you ask the question. I gotta answer. You gotta answer it, but it's like it's sort of in the slide, but it's like South Bahama. This is why we bring slides. But yeah, man. It's built to be J. No, not everybody's built to be Jadness at all, man. Like when my aunt used to say especially when we went to this ghetto wedding, about this. Was he calm or was he called? But everybody is not called. They were called. I'm talking about. Not everybody has that calling, that y'all gives. They just add, they fill out an application and they were called back. That's all we to it, man. They were called. They weren't called, So yeah, man. Now. Okay.
When they walk in the door, I will say to them, welcome to success, say goodbye to failure, because here you are going to fail, and they're going to let you fail. You're here to win, you were born to win. And if I have to care more about you than you care about you, that's the way it will be. This day has been given to me. This day has been given to me. Fresh and clean. Fresh and clean. I can either use it. Or throw it away. I promise that it shall be used. Not lost. I will be superior in my ability. In my thoughts. In my deeds. And in my actions. And you must be.
This is Marva Collins, a Chicago City school teacher who, dissatisfied with her own children's education, decided to start her own school.
Basically, 5 years ago, I just felt that there were far too many children being recruited for failure, far too many excuses being used for not educating children. Living in this area myself, I really felt that somehow there were far too many lives just hanging out there in a perilous vacuum. So I decided that whatever I did, I could do no worse. So I decided to start my own school.
Westside Preparatory School was born September 8, 1975, located in Marva's Westside Chicago home. Marva operated the school in her home for 4 years. In 1980, Westside Preparatory expanded into this former bank building a few blocks from Marva's home. Here, Marva added a staff of teachers who utilize her teaching methods with 200 students of different age levels.
What is this? C. Very, very good. Okay, the vowel is ah and the word is fra. The vowel is ah and the word is fra. Okay. And I think schools are failing because, first of all, teachers are so busy trying to make children conform to what they want them to be. And I think teachers are constantly trying to bend children to the way they think they should be. And I want to give children my love and my confidence, but I emphatically want them to have their own thoughts. I would hope their thoughts would be their own. Okay, what's the name of it? Speak up. Song of the Witches by whom? Jane, Mary, or whom? William Shakespeare. No, he didn't. Chaucer wrote it. No, he didn't. Geoffrey Chaucer wrote it. Very good. Because the teacher's mouth is no prayer, what? It's no prayer book, okay? Your brain is just as good as mine. You think for your what? You think for yourself. It's always the children are the big U's and we are the little I's. The teachers are not the big I's in our school. No teacher in our school has a desk. We do not have a chair nor a teacher's desk. We walk all day. We serve the children. We find something positive to say about a child every morning. I like your gym shoes. I like your ribbon. I like your blue jeans. We find something to say good to your child every morning. That's just as important as the curriculum. But it's, what do we say? Shazade affairs. Shazade affairs means a what?
A temporary substitute.
Oh, that's good, Eric. Very, very good. Shazade affairs means temporary substitute. That's what I mean. When we learn how to learn, see, I didn't have to tell him. When I was talking about the French CH words, he found one on his what? On his own, okay? What does that say now? To develop success without competition is to feel good about yourself, realizing that each one of us are very, very unique and that principles enunciated is really no good if we do not act them out. But here each child knows that they're very, very unique, that they're very special. And I think each child develops his own self-esteem, so there's no need to be competitive.
When you're working with children, it's how you teach them. It's a certain way you teach them. Now, I've gone to other schools and I've seen how they work with children, but it's nothing like she would teach them. She always tells them that you will never fail. You will always succeed.
That's right. And the poison?
And the poison around we go.
Very good. I think people attribute really what I do as being a miracle when it's simply hard work and preparation. Other teachers can get the same results that I get by developing a positive attitude. However, I have had many teachers work with me, and I think until one is open to suggestions of I want to become a better teacher, I want to become a better anything, it doesn't have to be a teacher. And I think once we stop striving to be better and settle for average, then that's about it.
For some students, time spent in the classroom setting is not enough. Marva reserves the first hour of each day for a student who needs individual attention.
What we do is I have them come in like an hour early so that I can give them an hour of my free time with just that child and I. Circle at the top, question mark, because it asks a question. Very good. Swing back down to the line.
In one respect, Marva Collins is a very hard, dedicated teacher. See, when you're dedicated, everything else falls in line. Everything is easy. But if you're not dedicated, quite naturally, you really can't put out what you really want to. So a lot of times I come in and I work with the children about 7:30. School actually starts at 9. And we work with the children. They're often going to the board.
You're good, but not quite. Don't erase proofread.
Flat.
They'd love to come in, but now we have a whole school coming in an hour early. If I say, Bruce, you come in the morning so I can help you, that doesn't mean everyone come in, but before I know it, everyone is coming in early in the mornings, not wanting to go home at the end of the day, saying, where did the day go? And our school is very special because we don't take recess, so you would think children would be bored. But they go down one stairwell and sneak back in. That's the worst problem we have with them at the day, is getting them to go home. What's the vowel? The vowel is
And the word is flat.
Here comes, not quite. I think many people don't treat teaching as a profession where there are a set of very basic skills that you have to learn and put together in a certain way so that you get good or superior results. And she just has a way of putting together the program so that, we can bring those things out of the children.
Look, everyone say it. Gl. All right? The word is glint. Listen to the key vowel in the middle. It. Glint.
One of the major teaching tools at Westside Prep is the teaching of phonics. Phonics teaches not just the letters of the alphabet, but all the individual sounds of the English language.
Int. Flint.
There are about 93 basic sounds in the English language, more or less. Phonics, you simply learn every sound, syllables in words that we speak in the English language or any other language, and you sound the sounds out that are next to each other. For example, in the word mother, there are 4 basic sounds there, right? They can be spoken, they can be written. We teach the children how they look, and we teach them how to write the sounds. That's phonics. Basic sounds in the English language. The children use them for spelling, for writing compositions. If you know your sounds, you can read and write anything. That's phonics.
The oak tree. A large oak tree is growing at the edge.
Whatever a child can read in our school, they can also spell. For example, when most children learn the cutesy alphabet song A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we teach them all the spellings there will ever be in this world for A, and that's E-I-G-H-A, A-I-G-H-A, E-Y-A, A-I-A, A blank E-A. There'll never be any more.
Block you, use. Airplane, van. Lariat, wet. Pop sound, snooks. Baby bird, yuck, yellow. Now we're sung our phonics song. Here are our vowel signals, E, I, and Y. What are vowel signals? E, I, and Y.
And see, a child is missing that many spellings. That's why we have so many poor spellers across the country, because most teachers do not want to take the time to really sit there and teach them the heavy doses of phonics. The average PH word knocks a child for a loop. And yet we tell children to use a dictionary. How on earth is a child going to find the word pneumonia unless some teacher has told him that the P is silent and you take those silent words in isolation? But that means that that teacher is on their feet at the blackboard. This is not some sheet that you can give children.
And the word is quiz. The vowel is moth.
Our children learn in patterns. Our children know the rules, I before E, except after C, unless our E has the sound of A as in neighbor and way. Or they know the Italian CH as in Andromache, Achilles. They know the French CH as in Charlie, Charlemagne. Then they know the American CH which says chat, chair. Okay? Now the Italian CH which says ca is, let's say it, ache. Ache. What does it say? Champagne. Come write Charlemagne on the board for me. Okay, that's the French CH which says what? They not only know this, they know the words too. They know what they mean. But it means that I have to take these words in isolation during the entire year. But that's why we never give assigned spelling lists. Because what happens when you're assigned spelling words, they learn to spell them to pass a test. And 2 weeks later, they can't spell those words. Very good. Mike, let's give Michael a hand. Okay, what does that say? Charlemagne. Champagne, Charlemagne. Okay? You see the difference between, what's the difference between this word and
Okay. See, you need that documentary, Chelsea. It look like, as always, the links are in the description. You know what I'm talking about. So it is there, but that was the real Marva Collins or Mrs. Marva Collins, you know what I'm talking about? Out of that West Side Garfield part, you know what I'm talking about? Even though I don't really like Garfield Park. I never liked Garfield Park because I know where it's at, but I never liked it. But she started school out there, out of her house, that stone castle. I always like houses that look like that. Ida B. Wells also had a house that looked like that. Them stone castle looking houses, 2-story on the side, you know what I'm talking about? That were some of them they were usually used as apartment buildings, depending on where you live, sort of, but I was used to seeing them as apartment buildings, So actually seeing the Marva Collins stories, like I'm saying, I'm looking at, okay, where is that? Oh yeah, I know people that live live in apartment or houses just like that. Oh yeah, I know that, things like that. But she started school out there, and she started school out where I'm from, at least the area that I knew so well, and I used to go to, as a youth, as a kid, being around there. But I never knew. But apparently the grown folks knew, and I knew people that I still know women that used to dress like that, and they were teachers. They were teachers. What I'm talking about. But she put a heavy emphasis on phonics, and I can tell you, at least my early education, the Black women who taught me phonics, man. I guess it sort of shows in a sense. Yeah, I talk country all the time, but yeah, I know how to say Achilles and even though I say hooked on phonics works for me, I just say that just because of the commercial. But those Northern rich women emphasis phonics. They emphasize phonics a lot. And that's why, you could tell that, the youth today are not used to phonics because they can't pronounce certain words. And they especially can't pronounce, they don't even try to pronounce foreign words. You know what I'm talking about? Whereas I try it out because I break it down, like you're taught. And then I try to sound it out, by using what? Phonics, But like she says, how you gonna give a child a dictionary and they don't know how to use phonics? And she was teaching them how to say it, how the French said it, the Italian said it, things like that. And it helps, man. You learn a lot because why? All of those languages are what? Romance languages or Roman or based off of Latin or Latinized languages because of history. You don't want to say what it really is, but yeah, where you see day, Wagner, which Europe, Wagner, German, Wagner. You don't say Wagner, you say Wagner. That W is W. It's W. It's not W. It's W. So depending, but that's why phonics is very important. Of course, it comes from what Phoenicia. Them Phoenicians. I wonder who those people were. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Carthaginians. Look like, that they're supposed to be the ancestors of the Carthaginians or whatnot. But yeah, But yeah, I finance is very important. But she had her detractors, man. Also, 60 Minutes special about her. You know what I'm talking about? Like I said, they talked about the one she had on the South Side, which her son ran. He was the principal over. but yeah, she also included complex texts as well. They were reading Shakespeare. Yeah, they were reading Shakespeare. But not also, but Shakespeare, Chaucer, for those that know Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer. What else? I would say Homer. Um, Breaking down context and figurative language. This also spans reading comprehension quickly. Yeah, breaking down context and yeah, man, you giving them bits, and she's doing it with kids that are said to be slow, um, have challenged learning. They're dyslexic or whatever, and this is before all the ADHD and all that other stuff. You know what I'm talking about? But she turned a bank into an old exchange or bank into a school, man. You know what I'm talking about? Some people are still trying to get schools off the ground. And she did that with an old bank, you know. you know. First, it started with her house, and then, she got a bank, an old bank nobody wasn't using. Mm-hmm. Yep, but some people just can't get right. But saying they're gonna start a school, but yeah. This was in the 80s, 75, 81. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, man. So, but that was education, and then you see not only just in the movie, but you see how this woman was being the spiritual mother and basically being that, I would say a Jegna in her community, which was Garfield Park, man. And seeing that, it, like I say, it reminded me of some of the women in my own community area, because they were like that in a sense, So I could totally like, I can see, bits and pieces of Marva Collins in some of the women I know, or in some of the entrepreneurial women that I knew one that had a restaurant in her house. That's how she started out. Started out with a restaurant in her house. And I remember we used to go to that house every strong. We used to go to her house every strong. She was a nice lady. She had a big house too, and had had a restaurant in her house. Chairs and everything. but yeah, that was community in this. But yeah, man. I would also say, she showed love. Like I say, she was looking past those children, man. Seeing at least Cecily Tyson showed that, but she's doing the same thing, looking past them and seeing that y'all in them, man, and showing them that what I love them. Don't nobody love these kids nowadays. Nowadays is what helping kids, but she's showing that, showing I love you. That's powerful, especially when they fight you back, man. And like I said, we all know somebody that was like them in the classroom, but we just didn't have teachers like that because why? They didn't look like us, Especially when you get older and older, they stop looking like you. Are they lovable, do you think? No. I want to say that's subjective, but hey. No comment. I don't. But that goes that a lot of reasons are if they're lovable. Are they lovable these days? given the given the times and what's been given and who produced them, like I say, but anyway, be persistent if necessary. Be repeatedly persistent in asking for help and learning what you need to know and understand, no matter how many times you fail to learn. Continue to be persistent, no matter how many times you are mocked or called stupid or looked at with amusement or contempt. They didn't make them exactly. We ain't gonna talk. And see, that was the thing. You had these kids that wanted to stay in school. You got to think about, because Chicago public schools, right? CPS, gym pop, it's prison. I think about this. You don't want to leave. It's like this. You don't want to leave, but you don't want to leave school because why? You got to go home to the zoo. That's I guess the psychosis for a kid. I don't want to leave this place because it feels more like home, and home feels like the zoo. I ain't going home to the zoo. I'd rather stay here. This feels more like home. This place of learning feels like home, and my dwelling place, would you say like that? My dwelling place is the dang on zoo. Filled with craziness and dysfunction. I'd rather, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. I got to go back to the zoo. I don't want to go back to the zoo. Miss Collins, don't take me. Let me stay here. I don't want to go back. I don't. We all probably been there. We don't want to go home, man. we don't want to go. Oh, we don't want to go back to the dwelling place that is called home. This feels like home, and you feel like mama. You feel like a real mama. I do not want to go home. So yeah, man. You got to deal with the dysfunctional, chaotic zoo, which is the dwelling place called home, and then you got to deal with general population prison. No wonder why you crazy. You got to deal with two chaotic places, two chaotic, crazy, insane places that are not in your making. That you didn't make crazy, but you're there. So kids don't want to go home. At least she had a dwelling place where it was lovable. There was love. There was learning, camaraderie, because you were able to get along with kids. No judgment. Well, at least no mockery. No mockery or anything like that. You're able to learn because nobody's mocking you. So what if you're a slow learner? Nobody care. We all learn at the same rate, And she's not going to stop teaching me just because I'm slower, and and she's not going to let you make fun of me. So I'm covered and safe. She being Mama Bear. A lot of them teachers were like, they were like Mama Bears, showing you that they love you, but they gonna give you discipline, So yeah, man. But be persistent. Be persistent, no matter how many times you fail, stay persistent, stay consistent and persistent in learning, Now, when studying people, seek the truth about the following: the purpose of people, how to find and do the will of all power, the creator, God, Allah, Yahweh, the Great Spirit, Yehovah, no J's in the Hebrew language. So Yehovah or Jehovah. So, 2, white supremacy, racism, learning what it is and how it works. counter racism, learn how to think, speak, and act effectively to end white supremacy, and then justice to produce ways of replacing racism, white supremacy with justice, balance between people. This means to guarantee that no person is mistreated, and to guarantee that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help. You know, so those are the four things you should seek the truth about when studying people. You know, now you could do that in history and ask these four, you know, based on these four standards right here. You know, especially when it comes to westernized history. You know, but you can also do that with Eastern history or Eastern history, because why? At one point in time, they were colonized too. You know, like there's a show I sort of watch. I like it and I don't. I like it and I don't like it. It's supposedly based off writings by Bruce Lee. It's called Warrior, and it's about well the Chinese in the late 1800s, basically in San Francisco, and basically this is almost the advent of the Opium Wars and things like that, and it's also talking about the tongs, you know what I'm talking about, but it never goes like deep into, never gets heavy into it, but you know you can see the colonization of or the colonized mindset during that time, in the sense, you know what I'm talking about, you know, so don't think it's not there, because it is, you know, but yeah, man. But yeah, counter racism, you know, learn how to think, speak, and act effectively to end white supremacy, and then justice. 3 and 4 is, well, 2, 3, and 4 is big, because ain't nobody pretty much done that effectively and constructively, you know. So, 4 basic ways teaching about culture. Teach and tell the truth about what culture is. Culture is what people do. Teach and tell the truth, if it can be known, about everybody's history, past culture, what everybody had done. Do not brag and or glorify anybody's history. Make a maximum effort to try to know and understand what it is that every person everywhere should and should not be doing, and make the maximum effort to help yourself and all others to guarantee that no person is mistreated, and that the person who needs help the most gets the most constructive help in every area of activity. This is big because of the simple fact, you know, you learn, you know, people, I would say profane this, especially when it comes to cultures, you know, and history, you know, no one tells the truth about people's history, or especially when it comes to your history, especially when it comes to you, you, yes, you know, they don't tell the truth about their own, and they ain't gonna don't tell the truth about your history. But then when you try to have some dialogue about your history, that's when they want to speak up and say, that's not true. You know, you know, like they really are speaking for the sake of the truth, that which is, which, you know, but everybody tries to brag about their history, you know what I'm saying, and glorify it, you know, and no one makes the maximum effort to understand everybody's history, for one, and basically what we all should be doing it's a sort of why Neely Fuller says, black people should not be celebrating. He says that in his podcast, in the podcast that he still frequents. Also, before I forget, today, he was interviewed. He was a video drop of an interview, and it was given by Rock Newman. For those who know who Rock Newman is, out there in DC, you know what I'm talking about. Used to have his show at Howard University. Now he's doing his own thing. Rock Newman 2.0. For those that know, But he interviewed Neely Fuller. At least the video of him interviewing Neely Fuller dropped today. Earlier, around like 4 or 5 o'clock. But it dropped today, So if if you subscribe to Rock Newman and whatnot, the Rock Newman show, you can check out Neely Fuller today. You know what I'm saying? Because he's still learning, he's still teaching. He ain't stopped, man. So he was still dropping, dropping the code. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man, check it out. But yeah, no one's making the mess and effort to see people who need the most constructive help gets it. We help them. We helping the wrong people sometimes. Because that sometimes they say they need help, and then the help you give them doesn't give constructive results. So you want to give people who need the need the most help, the most constructive help that gives the most constructive results. I would say it like that, because some people don't need no help, because like I would say, help go a long way. Help go a long way. So if you give somebody help, or you give somebody the most constructive help, it should go a long way, man. Help go a long way. So, yeah. Nah. Every place is a place of learning. Any normally functioning person can learn something in any place. All people teach, and all people learn during every moment, and their minds are giving or receiving messages. This includes times when they are alone, asleep, or awake. Learning may happen and does happen in any place that learning happens. Therefore, it is not correct for people to believe that it is possible for only a few so-called special people to learn in only a few so-called places at only a few so-called special times. So, hey, every place is a place of learning, man. You're going to learn something someplace. You know what I'm talking about. Every place is a place of learning. And there was not nowhere or no time that you're not learning. But the trick to say that learning happens in this place, in this four-walled prison-like place, that has desks and things like that, or it's on this so-called campus. You're going to get this type of learning, or this premier type learning, and on this campus, where you can learn any place and you can learn from anyone. And you're always learning. You can learn when you're alone, sleep, or awake. It sort of also brings to light what Dr. Carter G. Wilson was talking about the preacher that learned theology, in the school, and one that didn't. All he had was, basically the word. All he had was the word, and he just learned. outside, didn't have a church or anything like that. All he had was the word. And what Kaji was say, he was more spiritual and learned more, than one that went to seminary or theological school. He had more to teach at one point in time. At least during that time, can you now, it's, what, with the clip I put, link in the description, full clip, Dr. Clarke talks about that. Once, it became about, once religion sort of became economical, then you have all these problems, when it, as opposed to spirituality, when it was one time about spirituality, now you have, when it becomes economical, then it becomes political, then it becomes what? Entertainment. She talks about that. I didn't know Daniel Kerfling was wearing shirts like that, but for real? I quit listening to him, I quit listening. But he is right, because I grew up with a bunch of pastors, but I grew up with a pastor and his kids, and he was a bodybuilder. He was a bodybuilder. He didn't have tattoos, but what? He had brands because he was an Omega. He was a Q. But yeah, he big muscle bodybuilding dude. And what? He was also and they'll Ricket. He was a stone at one point in time in his life, So yeah, man. That's hey, some of them were, man. Yeah, for sure, man. But so I can relate to what she was talking about. Them like, yup, because he did wear cutoff shirts, especially when he wore his Q stuff. They had him and his brother. They were all Q, so of course they, But yeah, man. What you have? What church being entertainment? Because then what you had a lot of, R&B, and whatnot, Whereas what? At one point in time, what? It was singers or R&B was what? Trying to imitate church. Now church is trying to imitate R&B at one point in time, And then what? It wanted to be what? Culturally relevant, Also, church wanted to be culturally relevant, so it had to be modern and whatnot. Thus, you have, people, that wear dang on dresses that you wear to the club, and you have what? Gossiping, slander, backbiting, things like that is permitted. At one point, at one point in time, that wasn't permitted. I remember when I was a kid. This was a big thing, and mind you, I'm a kid, so this was a grown folks talk. But I remember when the elders of my, at least my community and my church, which my grandparents were a part of, and the lady that I lived in her house, because she was there too. But the younger women, or the younger adult women, they had a big issue when the elders, men and women, the elders said, y'all shouldn't be wearing blue jeans in church. That was a big thing. They were mad when they said that. Now these were people that came from the South. These was all people that came from the South. And they said, y'all don't need to be wearing jeans in church. And that made that caused up a ruckus. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I do remember that part. You know, but that was actually, the men said and the women said, y'all should be wearing jeans in church. That was a big thing. That was a big thing. To some people that want to go, it was like, you know, but you know what? You have all these things happening. You know what I'm talking about? You have to you have to go see God in a four wall place. But God's supposed to be everywhere. Or y'all supposed to be everywhere. Y'all supposed to be everywhere, near and everything. But you gotta seek him here. You know. You know. But see, incomplete. Incomplete. Confusing. You know, etc. You know. See the game or the trickery that's been played on you, and you had to learn that from what? Somebody. Because it went, you know. So yeah, man. Now, the system of white supremacy, it's not designed to guarantee that all white people will be wealthy, happy, comfortable, etc. The system of white supremacy is designed to guarantee white supremacy, power over all non-white people at all times in all areas of activity, and the basic mistreatment of non-white people as an expression of that power. So, when you have, you know, white people on welfare or government assistance or in their children being funneled through child services and things like that. Mind you, the system and the structure is not guaranteeing that all white people are going to be happy and comfortable. That ain't the point. That's why you can say some don't know the system. Because it ain't about that. It's to make sure that the system exists and it expresses its power over what? Non-white people. It didn't say all y'all gonna be equally happy, equally wealthy, and everybody comfortable. You know what I'm talking about? Especially when you have your ethnic tiers. Especially when you got your ethnic tiers. You know. Because like I think I've talked about this. There was a time where Catholics were not included. Middle Eastern whites were not included. They just weren't. No. You had to be Anglo-Saxon Protestant. More importantly, there was a time when they hanged Catholics. Louisiana, them Italians. You know, there was a time they got hung. You know. So yeah, it wasn't designed to guarantee everybody we had. Shoot, even when they moved out west, you know, when they moved out west and guaranteed all that dang on land, I know they said it was gonna be wealthy, happy, and comfortable, but they weren't. They lived in sod houses. You know. And then you got to deal with droughts and things like that. And you got to deal with the native population. Yep. Some get you. You have to have, survival skills. And then you just fresh off the boat. Not having to deal with these things before. Yeah, some get you. Malaria, some. Smallpox, yellow fever, whatever. But it wasn't designed to guarantee that everybody's gonna be Jeff Bezos and have a model wife. Even Jeff Bezos don't have a model wife, but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. No, it's not designed for that. So yeah, The matrix functions is keep the matrix going. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man. Now, the system of white supremacy is not designed to guarantee that all white people. Oh, I think I got that twice for some particular reason. Right. Do not think or believe that you have no constructive reason for existing because you do not know what others know. Be willing to learn anything and everything that seems to be constructive, will be of constructive value. Do not lose the will to learn because learning for you seems to be slow, difficult. Be patient, persistent, and be observant. Those three: patience, persistence, observance. So be those things. Be patient, shows action. little English, adverb. Know your adverbs. Lolly, 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 get your adverbs here. Get your adverbs. Okay. Schoolhouse Rock, not in my generation, but that's what they used for teaching, But yeah, be patient, be persistent, be observant. She shows action. Verbs, adverbs. Get your adverbs here, Whatever, So yeah, man, but keep on learning. Don't and have it be constructive value. You got a lot of people that talk a lot, especially on social media platforms, and they ain't saying nothing of constructive value. You can't really learn from them, or they ain't learning the right things or saying the right things that has constructive value. You have to be able to discern whether or not somebody's talking and teaching constructive things, and it has constructive value in what they're teaching. Like, look, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clarke, Dr. John G. Jackson, Asa Hilliard, Marva Collins, Adelaide Sanford. Look, I'm going to throw Absalom Jones. Gems, man. They just keep on coming with gems. You know what I'm talking about? You can still, Shahab's all elite, still coming with gems. Always seeing something of constructive value or teaching something of constructive value. And some of them dead and gone. Damn, look, Neely Fuller still saying something of constructive value. Well, we consider it to be learning slow. It's oftentimes us noticing things that we believe have no value because they were not externally praised. Yeah. I can say that about me learning history. History is one thing. Don't nobody. History, math, science. Nobody externally praises those things. You know what I'm talking about? She said, encompass, be first, assess up yourself. Yeah. Self-evaluate. But be first, assess of yourself, man. But yeah, man. But keep on learning, because some people have learned and you would not know that they had a stuttering problem, they were dyslexic, they had this, they had all these problems, and man, like and they're genius. They have such genius. You know what I'm talking about? Man, there's a few people I know that you would not know that they had a stuttering problem, but they were just genius at what they do. But yeah, anyway. Now, keep in mind that every person is known in the universe has an assignment. If you are patient, persistent, and observant, your assignment will be revealed to you. This assignment will likely be revealed to you in the form of a major problem that it seems you cannot avoid and seems to follow you no matter what you do. purpose. That's all it is. Everybody has a purpose. Now, whether or not they know it and whether or not they act on it, that's a whole nother level. But everybody has a purpose. Everybody has an assignment, aka a purpose. And it will be revealed to you. Like he said, one way is that it's something that you see you cannot avoid, and yet follows you around no matter what you do. I can say that with dang on history. This thing follows me around no matter what I do. It just keeps on popping up. It's like, I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it just keeps on popping up no matter what I do. Like, no matter what it is, it's just there. It just keeps on popping up. No matter where I am. It's like, maybe I want something new. It is like, no, stay here. You can't get rid of me. And I am telling you. It's like that. So yeah, but he at least in the book, he at least gives you a hint, a tall tale hint, if you don't know, it's just probably something that's going to follow you no matter what you do, It is important for all people to know and understand that according to I can't seem to avoid maintaining records and inventory, making stuff. See, yeah, I can't, hey, it just keeps on like, hey, and you may not even just can't get rid of it, It's sort of like, when you musical instrument, right? Chief said you could play more than one. It seems like woodwinds. For me, even though I put it down, now it seems like it's coming back. It's coming back in certain ways, but also seems like never leaves, or probably never leaves us. Drums. Drums. I just can't help but, you just, especially when it comes to jazz, especially when, you got the drum solo, you just can't, you just can't help it. It's just there. Chick Will, come on. You just can't help. Or guitar. Guitar, bass. Jimi Hendrix. You just can't. He gets praise. Ron Watchtower. It's just like, you just you just making all these fun. Like, man, I wish I could do that too. I just can't do it, and it's just, blues, like, just comes out. It just comes out in a certain way. It just can't escape you, So if you're looking for an instrument, play music, instrumental music, and see what you cannot. Curtis Mayfield, Superfly. Lil Child running around. Those strings. Boom, 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 boom. That part gets me. It's like, I just can't help it. Or what? Shaft. The Shaft theme song. With strings in number 2. And then you got the boom, boom, boom. I mean, you just that's my Tommy, the Tommy gun rip. That gets me every time. Like, and it's just you know, it's just strange, you know. So yeah, it hits you in different ways, you know what I'm talking about, but it follows you wherever you go, you know what I'm talking about. But it is important for all people to know and understand, according to compensatory counter-racist science, whatever any person says or does must never be confused with what another person says or does. But we don't, because it is important that nothing be said or done that helps the racist supremacist, racist man, racist woman, or directly or indirectly use their victims, non-white people, to use words in a manner that result in the truth not being known and understood who is saying what and why. This is an issue because you have a lot of people that probably look like you, says a lot of things, have racist man, racist woman words, talking points, and all it does is confusion. And you're like, why are you saying this? You know. Yeah, like James and Kurt Spain for a little child went around. Like I told you, it just hits you. It just, you know. Or okay, woodwinds or horns, right? Anything by dang on Miles Davis. Like I say, man. Porgy and Bess, man. When he plays the horn on Porgy and Bess, you just, you know. Like when Bess, you is my woman, use my woman now. You know, or especially summertime. You know what I'm saying? Especially summertime. Or okay, piano, John Coltrane, favorite things, you know, I mean, the sax be blowing, but also you just be feeling the dun 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 dun, you know. So yeah. Tutu as well, yeah. So I mean, you can pick things, you know, that just keeps you coming back. For me, sometimes, like I say, sometimes it's the dang on bass. It's the dang on bass. You know what I'm talking about? With some songs, it's just the bass. The bass be bringing me back. You know, there's a song by Tim Mayor from Brazil, and it's called Que Beleza. And what brings me back to that song is always the bass. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. It's just that. It's just that keeps on bringing me back. It's like you can just see the coolness of that one. Like you got a bass player, like you just playing that one, the bass line, like boom, boom, boom. Hey, just doing it cool, you know, not just playing that bass line. Something just bring you back. You know, something just keeps on calling you. You know, just keeps on bringing me back. You know, especially when it's drum jazz solos, you know, that keeps coming back. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, man. So, but yeah, you have to, you know, understand this, because people that look like you will confuse you with words, and they'll have racist man, racist woman counterpoints. You see that in social media a lot. On certain sites, no, yeah, you know, certain personalities, you know. Now, whether it's conservative or liberal, still same racist talking points, just packaged different. You know, Malcolm told us about this. Malcolm told us about this. But yeah, man. So yeah, you got to watch out for that. Now, be aware of white supremacists, racist tactics of changing, distorting, subverting, and or directly, indirectly claiming, distorting, subverting. I got that twice. Claiming authorship or ownership of what a victim of racism says, writes, etc. about race. That's why they have certain platforms or they have certain writers on like newspapers and things like that, or news platforms, CNN, MSNBC, TV One, BET. You can't escape it, man. You gotta ask these questions. What is you talking about, and why are you telling me this? You are not telling me this, but you're gonna have those that will claim authorship and ownership of what you say and write about race. Yeah. In some shape, form, or fashion, because you're gonna probably be doing it, or you probably will see it. Just look at the publishing house. Oxford Press. Oxford Press, Princeton Press, Yale. What's a good one? Random? No. Penguin, maybe Penguin. What's another one? I can't think of another one. But yeah. So you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. You gotta look at it. You gotta look at it all because it's there. Now, when repeating the remarks of others, make it clear that you are repeating the remarks of others. Do not change the remarks of others. I feel like that was put in there for you. Especially when I saw this, I thought of you. So, he ain't here no way. But that slide, you know who that one's for. That's a message for somebody. Yeah, we all know who he is. The guy with his own Wikipedia page. That's always repeating remarks and not saying who said them. We all know who that is. So that slide was for them, because I had no problem saying, oh yeah, Chief said that. Neely Fuller said that. Dr. Clarke said this. Dr. Ben said this. I ain't gonna take credit for them. Them the greats, at least to me, those great teachers, great scholars. I didn't come up with all that. No, So yeah. Message. It goes on though. When you think you can say something different or better than what someone else has said, make certain that you make it clear who is saying what the difference is between what one person is saying and what another person is saying, has said, and or has written. Like you can quote somebody, man, and you can say, okay, this is what they say, and this is what I'm saying, and this is the difference, from what he wrote in and in his work, he writes this, but during this time, this is what this was happening. So now this may or may not apply because we're living in this time. So I say, that doesn't work for us anymore. Therefore, we don't have to really keep that lesson, something like that. That's just an example on, how to use this passage in a sense, in different better. Because sometimes, some ideas can be corrected or evolved further into, or they just not no use at all. You can do away with them, like Chief said, at one in old podcast, public school don't work for kids. Well, Marva Collins had an issue with the public school system. She saw that it did not work. Same thing. You know what I'm talking about? Same thing. So yeah, man. Yeah. I'm done with that. So seek to know and understand when something said or written by one person is being mixed with something that another person has said or written. This is how you check for scammers. Because they will regurgitate something and not tell you who they got it from. They're just mixing in with what they're saying. But they got it but they quoting somebody wiser or more knowledgeable. And some people be quoting Dr. Amos or Dr. Ben or Dr. John Henrik Clarke and don't give them no dang on credit. You know what I'm talking about? Those will be the ones that want to build schools and other people, But yeah, or they want to give, Elijah Muhammad their credit, but they take from him too. Him too. They don't want to give, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad his credit, but they take from him too. Yeah. Whereas those that actually learned from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they always gave him what? His credit. Even Malcolm X, even Haj Malik Sabbath, even Scheherazade Ali, even, Minister Louis Farrakhan, but they all gave them, they learned it from him, they'll say it, I learned it from him. I learned it from my teacher, they always gave the source, where they learned it from, the credit, but, some people don't do that. They just take, mix it in, and give you something that's already been said, just different. You know what I'm talking about? Or they can even do it with a book. Ain't that right? Sort of written by Shakespeare. For a king. I think his name was James. Yeah. Got his own version of it. Mixed in some things. Same thing. Just saying. That's one. But yeah. I was going to sleep. But that last statement was a comment. They pledge on Dr. Wilson's entire educational work and pass it off as their own. Yeah, look, we wrapping it up. I know. I'm sorry. It's like apologies for my rescheduling. The way I looked at it was, sorry for the inconvenience. I was really thinking of Harlem Nights when I wrote that. Got everybody out of jail. He was like, the inconvenience. Sorry for the inconvenience. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, man. So yeah. So the last part.
I don't know about Ivy League schools because I don't even know what an Ivy League school is, but I perceive it to be what people call a school where you pay a whole lot of money to go and you meet a whole lot of people who are supposed to be very, 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 very knowledgeable, I guess, about problem solving, I guess, because I've never heard the definition of what qualifies a school to be called Ivy League as different from a school that's in some other kind of league that's not Ivy. I mean, I've never heard specifically what all that really means. Maybe I should look it up. Now that it's been mentioned to me, I'll have to look it up because I don't know what they're talking about, except it's supposed to be a place where you learn more than you ordinarily would learn in other places. But then it comes down to learn more about what? In order to do what? What we call, and black people themselves use this expression, black schools, white schools.
Okay.
See, we're talking about school. We're just talking about learning. So, really, if you look at it within that context, and according to the counter-racist code, anytime you are around suspected white supremacists, you're around people who you can perceive as knowing more or having access to knowing more than you do. Because that's what white supremacy is.
Okay.
One thing in the second area of activity, education. Education is what? It's the process of learning all the things that you need to know.
Yes, sir.
In order to do what? In order to do the things that need doing. That's what education is. Learning all the things that you need to know in order to do the things that need doing and or should be doing. That's the correct education. So, in a system of white supremacy, anytime victims are around suspected white supremacists, you are around people who are knowledgeable about power and having power, and also people who have access to power, because in the system of white supremacy, people who are classified as white have greater access to power of all kinds.
Yes, sir.
Than people who are classified as non-white. That's why, logically speaking, you have a thing called white supremacy. It's because knowledge is power. You cannot be ignorant and you're around other people who are not ignorant about the things that should be known. You are going to be most likely dependent on the people who know more than you do, because that's all ignorance and knowledge is. The person that knows more than you do about what needs to be known is the person that you're most likely going to be dependent on, logically speaking.
Logically speaking.
Even if it's just two people on the planet, the person that knows the most and understands the most is the person that the other person is going to have to depend on for knowledge and understanding. The white supremacists see to it that white people in the system of white supremacy, for the most part, have access to greater knowledge. And
so that was Neely full of mine. So, I don't have to really. He does so well, like I said, we talking about learning, but yeah, you always gonna meet somebody that knows more than you do. So what they have greater knowledge than you. You know what I'm talking about, and they further along the path. You know what I'm talking about. So that's logically speaking. Now, it always goes back to following the logic. So yeah, man. Like I say, that's self-explanatory. So yeah, man. Join us next strong when we will talk about entertainment. You know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna get into entertainment. You know what I'm talking about. I think Chief has already just kicked us off with it because he saying names that I remember when he didn't say no names, but I was always thinking, I was like, man, he can say no names. They ain't gonna beat him up. They ain't gonna mess with Big U. They ain't gonna mess with him. They ain't gonna tussle with him. He gonna smack. He gonna smack. Well, I ain't gonna say it, but hey, he gonna put them hands on him. They ain't gonna beat him up. He got shooters. He got shooters. You ain't gonna mess with him, B. You know. He go get his young bulls. You know what I'm talking about? But yeah, man, we gonna get into entertainment. You know what I'm talking about. Learn a little bit about that. You know what I'm talking about. And that's where we at with. Remember, got our new fellowship tomorrow, and then we have midday affirmation. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, join us for that, man. Like I said, Chief Y'all podcast came out with a new book. You know, The Art of the Start. You know, there's version 1 and there's 2.0. You know, so it's on Audible, and it's the hardback is not much, and paperback is not much either. You know, so. I know I'm picking it up, and like I say, you know, got trained ears with the last one, because it was about should be spiritual motherhood, but part 2. So you know, so it reminded me of part of Malcolm X when he said, "Listen, hear, and understand." You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man, GBR podcast. You know, also. I know retreat August, you know, and don't forget about our new blog, and don't forget if you like fellowshipping with us, man, remember to apply. Our new lifeglobal.org. You know what I'm talking about, you know. So yeah, man, thanks for showing up, showing out. You know what I'm talking about. Give thanks, everybody. Give thanks, Master Minlet. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I said retreat. You know, brought it in there. You know, look, we doing so much. I gotta remember everything. You know, so I'm like, okay, did I get everything? Okay. You know, gotta remember myself. So yeah, man. So give thanks, everybody, and I'll see y'all next strong. So peace, y'all.